What is the meaning of horizontal and vertical development? This is, you might be kind of looking at something like this with the categories. You might be thinking of like astrology or the Enneagram, various, big five personality types of people, Myers-Briggs, Jungian archetypes. These are ways of determining kinds of people. Let's say kinds is the most broad categories of people. And there's about a billion different ways to do this. But the question then becomes, what is the most meaningful way to describe people? And in this discussion, we're saying, what is the most meaningful way to describe consciousness? Because the consciousness and the person are synonymous in this context. So how do we talk about consciousness? We have to realize that there are multiple dimensions to a person, of course, that are occurring all at the same time. And so the question then becomes, what are the most important and significant aspects of a person? Not according to me, but according to humankind, according to where we are at in terms of philosophy today. So to talk about reality, we have to talk about the consciousness that is experiencing the reality. We have to be aware of the stage that consciousness is coming from and exhibiting and capable of comprehending, because that will change the interpretation of what the event that is occurring is. What are horizontal lines and types? You have things that we could call horizontal. Okay, so the Enneagram is horizontal. You're at one of the 9 types, horizontal types, and you might change, you might move around, but there's no prescribed pattern. You're not trying to get to type 9. It's not like that. You're trying to honor your uniqueness as one of these 9 types, and all are equal. All right, so that's a horizontal deal. So we call that types. Another example of types is male and female. Because you were born for one biological role or the other, the hormones of your body might change your character and your brain chemistry in such a way that it may influence the way that you interpret consciousness. So that should be considered. But men and women both go through stages of consciousness. And so we have to ask which is more important about a person, which stage of consciousness that they're at, or whether they're male or female. And this is a question, that's a type versus a stage, horizontal versus vertical. And in this argument, I'm saying that we focus in our society way too much on horizontal typologies like male and female, like race, like what country you're from, horizontal things that you're not supposed to develop out of being from America. You're not supposed to develop out of being straight. Right? It's not a developmental thing. It's just types of people. You could be anything. You could be Samoan. I'm Samoan. Are you supposed to not be? Nope. Types of people. They're all different. Diversity. That's a horizontal thing. But as a Samoan black lesbian, as whatever your identity, horizontal, male, female, whatever all that stuff says about you, regardless, all of us go through these recognizable stages of consciousness, and that is what is remarkable, how much the stages say about a person, regardless about what it appears like on the surface. So what is the minimum amount of categories required in order to define reality? So to fully comprehend a person and fully understanding that each person is a unique and special snowflake, we have to, in order to be current and up to date in our comprehension of reality, in order to express a current, present-day, teal meme, second-tier comprehension of the world, we should at very least understand quadrants exist in every occasion, that consciousness is developing, and so each quadrant is developing, that these stages of development are the stages that consciousness is developing through in all 4 quadrants. Also, that people represent various types, such as male and female, such as various ascribed statuses, things that don't change over time, personality types. Also, people have various aspects of themselves, various lines. So, to comprehend the occasion of consciousness, according to Ken Wilber and the integral model, you must at least have levels of consciousness, quadrants of reality, types of people, lines of development. And there then states and stages. I would say that is the most compact treatment of reality that we can use and be talking at a teal or turquoise level of comprehension. If you have any trouble comprehending what that means, it's my fault and I need to do this better. You see what I mean? Why is it that I'm familiar with the lines and types, but I'm not familiar with developmental stage theories? In our world, I'm swimming against the current. I'm fighting against present-day ideology in saying that there is vertical development occurring. We hate that concept. We are green meme. Our society does not like verticality. So our comprehension of people is very much to do with types. It is very much to do with lines of development. But we have this pretty strong refusal to name overall altitudes of development, whether that is constructive or not. And I'm arguing that it's so constructive that it is absolutely essential for the world to not fall into crisis. Because as we noted, the first tier of altitudes create conflict within the world and are doing so at this moment and can result in the demise of the world, of people, of this structure. This ladder will be shoved over in nuclear holocaust or what have you. So the solution that I am aware of as being a valid solution is second tier consciousness, is facilitating the health of all of these levels in harmony with one another. So do not live in denial of verticality. Prove what verticality means. Be the top level, and tell everybody what the level is. But the nature of reality is not horizontal. The nature of consciousness is not horizontal. Some people speak language. Some people don't speak language. Some people have a separate self-sense or an ego. Beetles don't have that, so we're not equal to beetles. There's a level of consciousness. There's stages of consciousness in between us and beetles, even though we may very well have evolved from beetles. Continuously, our DNA may have gone from being beetles to us, and we've moved through stages to get here, so that now we are at a stage of consciousness that is fundamentally different. That is what is important, not horizontal, not identity facts about you, but what stage of consciousness you're at, to what extent you comprehend reality. That's what matters to me. That is a vertical matter. The most important information about you, from my perspective, from an integral perspective, you have to factor in all of this stuff, but I consider you a conscious entity. So my interest is, what stage of conscious entity am I dealing with? That's the most important information, the very first thing I need to assess in any given situation, so that I know what language I'm speaking. If I don't factor that in, I will offend you. Very well. So is it fair to say that consciousness, as described, as experienced, goes through stages? Is that a fact? Well, let's say that you were never taught language. So now you have to go about life without language. You cannot understand what I'm telling you. You cannot read a book. Does that exist? This is all I'm saying. There's a stage where you can speak. You've been taught to speak. That's a stage of consciousness, let's say. Sure. If you haven't been taught to speak yet, you're at a lower stage. If you have been taught to speak, you're at this stage. Let's say you can read and write. That's yet another stage. Let's just call that a three-stage system. We've just defined a system. And in fact, according to altitudes, that isn't some abstract crazy thing. That would roughly correspond to the infrared, magenta, red as exhibited by both society itself and children. The infrared is basically pre-verbal or proto-verbal. The magenta is basically pre-literate or proto-literate. There's no writing. And at infrared, there's no speaking. And then yet at red, there is primitive forms of writing. And any red meme society will start writing. Any red meme person will get the abstraction, the abstract comprehension required to turn sounds into physical characters. That's a kind of complicated notion. It has to be trained by successive stages of comprehension. It's not basic. Each of these is simply one of those. It's just simply one of those. It is a greater comprehension of reality in an extremely generalized and non-discrete spectral continuous form that we're pretending is discrete because you can make these generalizations such as at one point people don't talk, at another point they do talk. Where is that point? Very vague. But it clearly is the case that before people learn how to talk, they can't talk. After they do learn how to talk, they then talk. There's no point where that occurs, but there's the before and the after, which definitely does exist. Altitudes are a lot like that. So not discrete, but spectral. Spectral.